Hey, folks, welcome to another episode of Cutter One. I'm your host, Jay Just Jay, your resident troublemaker and your resident culture warrior. I hope you're all doing well. Well, folks, we have made it to Friday. Thank the gods in their mercy. We've made it to Friday. Now we just got to get through these last couple of hours to the end of the workday. At least for me, anyway. Hopefully you are beginning your weekend and going to enjoy it, and I hope it's going to be great and perfect weather, and that you're going to have a great weekend. All right, so let's get right into it. So if you remember yesterday, we talked about the War of the Rohirrim, the movie and release date of April 12th next year, and so on and so forth. So this one sort of ties in with that. This one is coming to us from the good folks over at CBR.com. It is from our friend Blake Hawkins, who we've dealt with before, and it says, "The Lord of the Rings, Eowyn's epic Witch King kill involved a magic sword." No kidding. Who knew? In The Lord of the Rings, Eowyn killed the mighty Witch King of Angmar, but there was a lot more to the story than the movie showed. Okay, this is true. Let me pause this here. All right, Sauron may not be the greatest Dark Lord in the world of The Lord of the Rings, but by the Third Age, he was the ultimate source of darkness. Accordingly, when his power began to grow for the second time, Sauron drew to himself all of the evil things in Middle-earth, among them orcs, Saruman the White, and a black Numenorean known as the Mouth of Sauron. However, his greatest servant was none other than the Witch King of Angmar, leader of the Nazgul. Peter Jackson's film adaptations depicted the Witch King as a formidable foe. However, the director left out a key detail from his death at the hands of Eowyn. In J.R.R. Tolkien's novel, The Return of the King, the Shield Maiden of Rohan was only able to kill the Witch King because of a magic sword. Here's why Jackson left out that detail. How was Eowyn able to kill the Witch King? And there's the famous scene. I'm not going to play it, but y'all know it. It says, the moment arrives near the end of The Return of the King as the battle of the Pelennor Fields rages. As King Theoden lay trapped under his horse, mortally wounded, the Witch King tells his fell beasts to, quote, feast on his flesh. Out of nowhere, one of the Rohirrim, why do I always have a hard time with that word? Steps up to defend the Lord of the Mark, only for the Witch King to proclaim, "You fool, no man can kill me." Every Lord of the Rings fan knows what happens next. The two engage in a shield-splintering fight, and the warrior is nearly killed. Nevertheless, the hobbit Merry Brandybuck stabs the Witch King in the back of the leg. That allows the warrior to reveal herself as Theoden's niece, Eowyn, who declares, "I am no man," before plunging her sword into the dark depths of the Witch King's helmet. However, there's a little more to the story, and it involves a magic sword. However, it wasn't Eowyn's blade that was magically imbued, it was Merry's. To understand that point, Lord of the Rings fans have to turn to the Fellowship of the Ring novel. At the beginning of the book, Frodo and his three Hobbit companions encountered the legendary Tom Bombadil, a character cut from Jackson's adaptations. Omitting Bombadil is a debate for a different article. However, in choosing to do so, Jackson was also forced to remove the Hobbit's near-deadly encounter with the spirits in the Barrow Downs. After Tom Bombadil rescued the hobbits from the Barrow Wights, that's not how you spell whites. That's Barrow Waits. They are the heavyset barrows. They are the barrows of overindulgence. The Barrow Wights. He gave them daggers that were hidden within the burial mound. Those weapons were of special significance because they originated in Westernese, also known as the Isle of Numenor. Forged by the smiths of Arthedain, the daggers were intended for the use in the war between Arnor and Angmar. As such, they were enchanted with magic capable of harming the Witch King. Of course, in Jackson's films, the Hobbit's daggers were of no real significance because they didn't come from Tom Bombadil or the Barrow Downs. But in Tolkien's book, the magic weapon made a huge difference. So when Merry stabbed the Witch King in the source material, he didn't merely distract the Lord of the Nazgul. Instead, he dealt a great blow by breaking the spell that made the Witch King near immortal, to wit, Mary's blade broke, quote, the spell that knit the Witch King's unseen sinews to his will. Essentially, Mary's magic dagger opened the door for Eowyn to kill the Witch King. That, however, doesn't diminish her big moment. It means that it wasn't her femininity that permitted her to kill the Witch King, it was her will. Anyone could have killed the Nazgul after Mary weakened him, but only Eowyn had the courage to defend her king against him. And this is from Blake Hawkins. All right, so let's get into it. Time to have the conversation. Well, first of all, I think Blake Hawkins, and this is just my take, okay? And I don't want to come off as being like some sort of arrogant shithead, right? But this is just my take. I think Blake is trying to make a point, but at the same time wants to cover his ass when it comes to making the point. And what I mean by that is the point of this article to me, and this is just my interpretation. So you guys in the comment section or over on the Discord, you let me know if you agree with my take on this one. It seems to me that Blake and CBR.com, well, let's say Blake Hawkins in this particular article, what they're trying to do is sort of undercut the significance of that scene from the movies. Okay? And that's the whole point of that article. The whole point of that article is to say that, well, what you got in the movies with Eowyn's I am no man and killing the Witch King, that's only part of the story. It doesn't give you like the full complete picture, which on the face of it is true, right? That he is correct. So he's not saying anything that's factually not right. And now he's leaving out. He's very selective in the parts that he is willing to let you know are left out, right? And what I mean by that is he tells you that, because Peter Jackson cut out Tom Bombadil, that it's Tom Bombadil in the books who rescues them at the Barrow Downs and then gives them the daggers that were found at the Barrow Downs, which were these ancient Numenorian daggers that were originally created to fight, the Witch King and his forces, and that's why they can hurt the Witch King, and that's the dagger that Mary uses on the Witch King, right? And it sort of, quote-unquote, breaks the spell. Right now, you can argue about the finer details of that, but that is the point. That, see, Blake is willing to mention that, i.e., Peter Jackson cut out Tom Bombadil. Interestingly enough, rumor has it that Tom Bombadil is going to be in the Rings of Pewter, but I digress. I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but I'm just saying, right? He says, well, because Peter Jackson cut that out, there by extension, then you lost all this, which in essence amounts to his point being you lost the backstory of why Mary stabbing the Witch King in the back of the leg was significant, right? And like I said, from strictly sticking to the facts, you can't disagree with what he's saying. However, he doesn't tell you that it was long time ago, where it's Glorfindel who tells, I'm trying to remember was it Eärnor? He tells Eärnor to not chase, and when the Witch King is retreating from them, says to not chase him, not to go after him, because, he's not going to die today. His death is still far off in the future, and it won't be at the hands of a man. Right? And I'm paraphrasing here, right? So Blake's argument is that, well, the real hero in this particular scene in the movie is actually Mary, who has this magical dagger. And, as he says in the article, anybody could have killed the Witch King after Mary stabbed him, right? Which, theoretically, yes. I won't argue that fact. However, you have to take the full story, and the full story is that there was that prophecy from Glorfindel from hundreds and hundreds, if not over 1,000 years prior, of no man is going to kill the Witch King. right? And that's actually part of the prophecy. That's why the Witch King interprets that as when he says, "You fool, no man can kill me," right? Um, and so that does sort of put it back on Eowyn, right? It does sort of bring her femininity back into the spotlight, right? Um, but at the same time, I like how Blake Hawkins is trying to diminish the significance of what Eowyn does, and yet at the same time, he tries to cover his ass by saying, "Well, this isn't to take away from her femininity and take away from her moment. It's He even says right here, it says that, however, doesn't diminish her big moment. It means that it wasn't her femininity that permitted her to kill the Witch King; it was her will." No, dude, you're literally taking away her moment. Like, that's like saying, I don't know, come up with an example. It's like saying, you know, um, it- anybody could have been Wonder Woman if they had found the armor. It just so happens to be that Diana, or whatever her name is, Wonder Woman's real name. Again, I'm not a comics guy, but she just happens to be the one that found the armor, and therefore that's what makes her Wonder Woman, or something like that, right? And in essence, what he's trying to say is he's trying to point out that really it's not her that defeats the Witch King, and it's not the fact that she's quote unquote not a man, that really has nothing to do with it. It's more about Merry and his magical blade. But then he also tries to, on the flip side of that, say, well, this doesn't take away from her moment. It just means it wasn't her femininity. It was her will. No, because her will had nothing to do with it. Okay. Her will was not a factor in her ability to defeat the Witch King. Okay. Her will may have been a factor in her ability to fend off the Fell Beast. Okay. But her it doesn't make a difference because she still would have got her butt kicked by the Witch King had it not been for Merry. Now, personally, I've always interpreted the prophecy as Glorfindel said it, that that he says no man's going to kill him, right? Meaning the Witch King. Um, I like to think that it sort of was implied that you would have this shield maiden at some point in the future that would sort of take up arms and be the one that offs this motherfucker, right? That's always how I sort of interpreted it, and maybe that's just because I wanted to interpret that way. Maybe it's because I wanted Eowyn to have that moment. And I'm willing to concede that maybe that's what my motivations were on a subconscious level. But I always interpreted that from that prophecy going forward, that it meant that no normal man is going to be able to defeat the Witch King. Not that a magical dagger will defeat the Witch King. Okay, because that's not what the prophecy says. The prophecy doesn't say that a magical dagger will eventually defeat the Witch King, or that a normal man, or that a hobbit will defeat the Witch King. Right? He says, that it won't be a man, and I've always believed that meant that you have two quote unquote non men that ultimately defeat the Witch King. One is Merry with the magical dagger and his bravery to he saw his friend about to be defeated, i.e. Eowyn, about to be defeated and killed essentially by the Witch King, and he did the only thing he could do, which was to lash out and stab the Witch King with his magical dagger. Not that he had any idea that this would do anything other than maybe piss off the Witch King, right? But Merry, at the end of the day, is not a man. He's a hobbit. Okay? And so that, in turn, because of the magical nature of the dagger, opens up the Witch King's defenses, so to speak, which allows another not man, Eowyn, a woman, to finish him off. And so I believe that the prophecy that Glorfindel says when he says no man's going to kill him, meaning the Witch King, that's what he meant. It was sort of like a foresight that Not that he would specifically see that particular moment, but maybe he just knew that it would be something that the Witch King would not expect. And what would the Witch King not expect? The Witch King would not expect some little rinky-dink hobbit and a woman. And ultimately, that's what his downfall was much like Sauron, he underestimated where the threat was. He saw the smaller, weaker person and wrote them off as, well, they're not a threat. I've got to focus on these guys, right? I've got to focus on Aragorn, okay, and the armies of Gondor and Rohan. You know, these little hobbit things are just getting in the way. They're not an issue. They're not a threat. When ultimately it's, Frodo and Gollum, for lack of a better word, that ultimately destroy the ring. And I think that also plays true with Eowyn and her moment. I think that the prophecy was no man's going to kill him, okay? And no man did kill him. He was killed by a combination of a hobbit and a woman. Okay. And so I personally like to give Eowyn her feminine moment. Okay. I'm not about trying to take that away from her. I think it's interesting because I think if the roles were reversed and I was saying something like this regarding Rings of Pewter, I would be an misogynist and a woman hater because I was trying to take away their agency. I find it funny how Mr. Hawkins literally just wrote an entire article trying to take away Eowyn's agency, and then just drops a paragraph actually not even a paragraph, 2 lines, basically saying no, it's not her femininity, but this isn't to take away from her moment. It was her will that did it. No, dude, her will had nothing to do with it. Like I said, her will had already got her there. Okay, but she still could have died. Okay, it was the prophecy said that no man was going to kill the Witch King, and no man did. A hobbit and a shield maiden of Rohan are the ones that killed him. And so I'm giving Eowyn back her feminine moment. But, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Do you think I'm right? Do you think I'm wrong? Do you think Mr. Hawkins has the better interpretation of it? What do you take of the fact that he leaves out the prophecy that Glorfindel had originally said, and just sort of picks it up in the middle as if that's all there is to it? Like, oh, it's basically just a magical dagger. Right? I'm like, dude, you're telling the story. It's as if trying to explain Star Wars to somebody and you start with Empire Strikes Back. That's what he's doing here. He's starting in the middle of the story. It's not about the magical dagger, okay? It's about the prophecy from Glorfindel and how that plays out. But anyway, that's just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. If you like the video, like the video. If you want to share the video, by all means do so. It helps us with the YouTube algorithm, helps us get seen, helps get the video promoted out there on the site. If you have not subscribed, I would hope that you would consider subscribing to the channel and joining the ranks of beautiful badasses and turn that subscribe button from red to gray. And if you are a returning subscriber, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. It always does me good to see you guys in the comment section, dropping knowledge and stuff like that. So yeah, that's going to do it for this one. Let me know what you think. And remember to check out the Discord. I'll put the link down in the description below. Come on over and join us in the Discord. Also, check out the merch store. We got more merch. Got some new merch stuff coming out. I'll probably drop some stuff in the community section. But I'll probably also post it first over on the Discord. So if you guys want to check it out and get a little preview of some of the designs and ideas that might be coming out for the merch, let me know. And it'll be over there. That's all I got for right now. Until next time, remember to be good, be safe, be awesome, but as always, stay more dorkish. Peace.